The Female Solution Global Radio TV Show invites you to an invigorating conversation with our team of hosts Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Self-Cell Care with Jody Susan. Wednesdays, Repairing Broken Families with Naima Latif and co-host Kareem Hamid. Thursdays, Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. And Fridays, Health and Wellbeing with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. First Saturday, Success Strategies with Jana. Second Saturday, Wendy Williams Esquire on relationships. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. And fourth Saturday, Wisdom with Mama D. Join us Sundays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Call in and comment 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to the host and be a part of the solution.
A solution to an education crisis that we face. And so sharing has been developed so that we can stop feeling disempowered and can stop feeling as if we don't have the capacity to educate others. This is one thing that we hope to instill today. The power that we have always had to educate our children. And the many things that are already being done around the nation. So I look forward to this sample being given and then we'll talk to some of the organizers of this program. This luncheon that is giving us back the abilities to make sure that our children get what they need and that our children are prepared for the 21st century and beyond. You're listening to and watching the Global Radio TV show, sitting in for Success Strategies with Jonathan here at Rainbow Coalition, and this is an opportunity to learn, to recognize that we have in fact created systems of educating our young people that makes sense and that makes a difference. We're educating our young people on the ways that they can prepare themselves for the 21st century, ways that they can prepare themselves for the future, the technology that is part of our military. So these are things that the our schools are not providing what is needed. That responsibility falls on us.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to stay for lunch and appreciation, I need you to sit at one of the tables with chairs so that you can be comfortable as you eat and listen, okay? We'll take us about 5 more minutes.
We will be in just a few minutes. Just a few minutes. We will be watching a presentation. And we intend to share with you ideas on how we can experience this for ourselves. Let's push for excellence. Presents the curriculum. And we want you to call in 515-605-9325. This one, when you're ready to speak, give you a chance to speak to those who are taking charge and making a difference. Taking charge of our education, taking charge of our seeing many who time educators and chance to certainly ask those who are part of this process what it takes for our children to accept to be prepared what future holds for them. And we're excited. And if you're joining us live, we have a special radio differently altogether. They have the ability and they need the tools to do so. And we need to provide those tools so that our children are prepared to and so press one because we are excited to be this presentation bringing this to you. I'm so excited that we have seen this present a solution. Complaint is not done as opposed to doing. That we have seen changes, but it's systems. How long have we been upset that our children are very prepared and are not able to complete simply because their schools don't offer technology systems, their schools don't offer the latest equipment, their schools are even balking at teaching some basics as to so I can say our children today tend to not receive external. So we are so excited that today we have a chance to make a difference. So, yes, we serve a wonderful choir to Sweden. To come and push that international player into the speakers. Of some personal matters, definitely health and well-being. And in her place, we are presenting a global solution, education, and push for excellence here at 930 East 50th Street is hosting this very special presentation on curriculum mechanism. Choose our future, educating our young people. So we're excited to be a part of that process. And we're going to talk with people who are to talk a bit about why this is important for students. Why is this important? Why is this important for our kids? Why is this important for to guide their we are preparing leaders and workers to bring about positive change. And we are stressing the development of our minds, bodies, souls, and consciousness. And many of those who have been a part of the Betty Shabazz International Charters, that's their morning pledge, their daily morning pledge. They remind students of their purpose, and so we want to make sure that we remind students of their purpose. Make sure that we remind students of their and so to encourage you, if you have some slaves children, I want you to listen in and call 515-605-9325 press 1 for your questions and comments as we are live here on Facebook and YouTube. We're live at the Rainbow Push Coalition, where a wonderful presentation is about. Everyone get a chance to talk to someone. So we want to be a part of the process. Because we are changing our world from the way it is to the way it should be transformed. And as such, we take responsibility for how the world will be in the future. We are creating the solutions to the problems, but not just about what is not. We are creating what is. So, for those who are not aware of the Push for Excellence program, Push Excel, here, this program, which has been a hallmark of Rainbow Push Coalition and shaping lives of many students over the decades. Pushing students to excel is the motto. The Push Excel offers scholarships, financial literacy, and basic economic programs. It offers computer science and technology instruction. It offers robotics, AR and AI studies. It offers understanding forensics, oratory contests, which you may have seen. We've featured many of our orators on this show. Oratory and debating classes, performing arts, African American social studies curriculum, adult learning and training, college tours, engineering concepts, professional teacher development, and workforce training. So Push Excel as a stellar board members that around the country working in institutions of learning to make and to prepare teachers to provide the kind of learning that gives students ethics and values that helps them understand the responsibility that we have to reshape the world, to put in place those systems that will give opportunities to all. To give them a chance to explain why this program is necessary and why it's important that we take responsibility for our children's education. As Reverend Jackson always says, nobody is going to save us from us, for us, but us. And so today's program is another chance for us to save ourselves, to raise up generations of prepared leaders, and to look forward to the new world that is evolving, and to shape it and not merely react to it. That is our responsibility. Oh, we're on our live radio. Yes, and there are a number of educators that are here for different organizations, and they are looking to learn something that they can teach. We realize that education is at a critical juncture right now. And we also realize that the system as it is not going to solve the problem. It's up to us to solve it. It's up to us to make a difference. It's up to us to create. Giving a chance to see this curriculum as it unfolds. It becomes a part of our education. So it's who are working on programs to present to our schools have chosen to be in the process of sharing. Too often we wait for someone to give us a before we decide to act. And when we do that, we tend not to do anything because other people do not see it. We have to see to present what many educators will be able to use as a tool in the classroom and what parents will use. To changing the face of education, to change the attitude about education, and to develop those who may not always have our best interest at heart, but have pigeonholed us into what could be embedded. We need those things that change the mind, that change the attitude. To create something desire. And as a result of creating these opportunities, we will find can change the world we live in. We can change the world we live in. And we can shape that world the way we would like it to be. So our presenters will be starting in just a moment. And we're going to take a quick break and to some of those who have gathered here, hoping to learn this program and tell you something they can share. And you can give us a phone call at 156-888-9373. and breastfeed. Your microphone. So during this particular meeting, there have been those who are advocates for education, those who have peers in education, those who have been concerned parents that simply want to see something different, and they are concerned. During the pandemic, we know that many parents were thrust into the responsibility of handling the education of their children and were not technologically advanced enough to sometimes follow the demands that teachers made on them. So there was pressure on both sides. And in many cases, teachers and parents simply gave up. So now we know what we need to do is create a curriculum that is moving right back at it. It's right back to the stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be back in a moment. So stay.
She put them in her pocket.
And we are back on this LGBTQ females
Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
And in case you didn't notice the resemblance, we're also three sisters.
We're going to be coming to you every week, sharing our successes and our mistakes as we navigate our lives as moms, wives, sisters, daughters, and of course, Black women in today's world.
We'll talk about it all: race, politics, religion, economics, culture, and we'll take a look at everything from whether or not to use corporal punishment to how do you teach your children about sex.
Look for our upcoming book, Growing Up Charles. It's a personal story about our lives growing up in Maple Park on Chicago's South Side. I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms. Follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Three Black Moms.
We want to get started to give you an opportunity. We want those of you who are here today to preview what we believe is an outstanding virtual African American history curriculum. Our goal is to make sure that every school in the state of Illinois has a curriculum that teaches African American history with a sense of inclusion, and we are confident that when you look at this curriculum, you will see things that you didn't know. You will see things that you did not receive if you're an adult. You may not have even been taught while you were in school. We hope that teachers across the state will begin to use this curriculum between now and June 30th as a pilot program to see what we can do when we decide to have an inclusive curriculum for social studies in elementary school, for history, American history in high school. And there are several parts of this curriculum. We've had a number of African American scholars review the curriculum. We've had persons from the African American Museum at the Smithsonian review our curriculum. And so we want you to hear the presentation, and if you are a teacher or an administrator, we want you to test it at your school. If you are a community organizer of an after-school program, a Saturday school program, we encourage you to consider trying this curriculum between now and June 30th in your program, at your school, at your church. And so without further ado, I want to bring to you a young lady who has invested a number of years and a great deal of personal resources to design a virtual African American curriculum for use, not just in the state of Illinois, but just to kick it off in the state of Illinois. None other than Kathy Rivera, who's an award-winning television producer. She decided in her retirement season to invest in developing curriculum for students so that they can have inclusive history. And we have some people here with her who have tested the curriculum, and they will also share their responses with you. Give her a round of applause.
My name is Kathy Rivera, and I'm the founder and president of Virtual Learning Systems, which is affectionately called VLS. And we have been developing curriculum for the past 25 years for major curriculum companies. And our company has produced over 2,500 K-12 curriculum that has been nationally awarded for its content and for its creativity and for professional development. So we come with a lot of credentials. What I saw while we were creating K-12 curriculum was the lack of diversity in our curriculum K-12 projects. And about 6-7 years ago, I became very aware that African American curriculum was not being taught to the fullest of authenticity, historically accurate, and genuine history curriculum. So my husband and I took out on the mission of finding some of the top African American curriculum writers, which are here in front of you, and they will introduce themselves and briefly their credentials for all for your satisfaction. And what we came up with were 7 African American chapters that we think cover authentic, historically accurate, and genuine curriculum. The state has given us a grant to distribute free to every superintendent, principal, and teacher in our state, and we're very grateful for their help in getting this curriculum to you by early summer. And what we have done with Push Excel is offer this curriculum for their after-school programs and for their summer school programs. And we want to offer it to any community, library, churches that will help get these kids off the streets and understand the importance of how meaningful their culture is to everyone that's in the classroom sitting next to them. So let me introduce to you Dr. Dean Cantu, who headed up curriculum writers team, and he will briefly tell you what his credentials are, just for all your comfort levels.
Okay, great, thank you, Kathy. I'm going to actually see if we can do this over here. Okay, we're going to do a little walkthrough here of the curriculum, but before we do that, we want to do some introductions here of members up here on the panel who are also part of the team as well that is putting together, designing the curriculum that you heard about here just a moment ago. Again, I'll do a brief introduction myself, and I'll ask my colleagues if they would do likewise here. I am Dean Cantu. I'm the Dean of the College of Health Education and Sciences at the University of Arkansas Fort Smith. I was formerly at Bradley University here in Illinois and served as the Executive Director of the Illinois Council for the Social Studies. My background is as a former high school history social studies teacher, and now for in the second phase of my career, I've been at the university level, various universities, teaching history as well as history education to new middle school and high school teachers of history and social studies, I've written books on history, education, as well as on integration technology in the teaching and learning process as well. But I'm very fortunate, very blessed to have the team here that we put together here for the virtual learning social studies and the African American history series of units that we're putting together. The first one here you see is the early history of Africa. That unit actually has been completed, and in working in that capacity, very fortunate here. We've got two history scholars, African American history scholars that were part of that team in providing insight and consultation on that, and actually also putting together the entire outline here for the series. But before we do that, I want to turn it over to them to give a little bit of background on themselves and the role that they play here. So let me start with Dr. Davis.
Thank you. Again, my name is Daniel Davis. I am an associate professor of Africana Studies. Educational background, I have a doctorate in African American and African Studies from Michigan State University, as well as a master's in there as well. I've been teaching in this field now specifically for a little over 10 years, but I've been teaching in higher education for about 15, 16 years now. Yeah.
My name is Jared Lee. I'm actually not a professor or an instructor. I'm actually behind the technology and development of the website. So that's where we do distribution, where we talk about the advantages of having a common version of this, which can reach so many students because it's free. So if there's any technology questions and distribution questions and how we can get
Okay, thank you. Professor?
Check one. Okay, great. My name is Ted Williams III. I am the chair of the Social Sciences Department at Kennedy King College, which I call the Harvard of Inglewood. We're very proud of the work we do. Dr. Davis goes with us there. I teach political science. I've been doing that for 20 years now. And I also am a theater professional, and so have written a production called 1619, The Journey of the People, which is a 2-hour musical theater journey through our history, looking at really kind of how we got to where we are and some of the issues that we're dealing with. And so this previous summer, I had the opportunity to use this curriculum in an arts integrated manner. Reverend Wilson asked me to facilitate this work and work with children as they taught theater, but we also taught the principles of this curriculum in addition to our production. So I'll share more about that experience, but I'm very happy to be here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all. So what we want to do is just, again, provide you a little bit of insight here in terms of the curriculum that we have developed and will be developing in the African American History series. The first one here, and again, this is where I'm going to follow my colleagues, Davis and Williams, to provide a little bit of insight in this. The first one that we developed is entitled African American History and Early History of Africa. And we wanted to go back to that period and not start with 1619, but literally go back and provide that historical context or that foundation here. And that's what you'll find with this unit is we've done just that. And you'll see here, and what we're going to do is kind of unpack the one on mid-20th century civil rights movement. So we'll look at a little bit more granular at that unit here. But what we want to do here is again, provide that basis and that foundation that goes back to Africa and the early history of Africa. So I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues to kind of provide a little bit of a rationale for that and what we were trying to achieve and what we achieved relative to that.
Yeah, great. So I'll be brief. As an African-American historian, one of the issues that I find is many institutions start Black history or African-American history with slavery. And while slavery is obviously an important part of the history, and it's a very relevant part to our more contemporary history in this country, it's important that we know the whole story. So I was adamant about including what happened before slavery. One of the beliefs is that if you don't know what you once were, how can you ever aim to be that again? If all we've ever known we were slaves, what can we hope to be beyond the slave, right? So going back to the beginning of humanity, actually, It may seem like a lot of time to cover in one unit, but we gotta do what we gotta do, right? So going back to the beginning, knowing that everyone started in Africa, I think that's important for students to know. Talking about other kingdoms outside of just Egypt. Egypt was also part of Black Africa, which many don't understand, but there's other great societies beyond Egypt that we must talk about, right? From Ethiopia to Aksum and others. And then going into the West African dynasties, which are of particular importance to all of us African Americans today. 85 to 90% of us are from West Africa. So we should know about the kingdoms and the greatness and the culture of the people that we were taken from directly, which led to us today. So I was very happy to be able to, help with the inclusion of that section of the curriculum.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Davis. Yes, exactly.
Let me add something here. Is this on? When we were signing our curriculum, we wanted to be able to develop the life skills that children need today to be able to work in the 21st century. So besides learning about their history, their culture, we have embedded life skills inside of each unit, each chapter. And the life skills that we have developed with this magnificent team before you, we are encouraging reading, writing, and researching. We're also developing the thinking and logistical and evaluation skills of our students. We are teaching them how to ask questions. We are teaching them how to conduct interviews. We are encouraging logistical and critical thinking as they learn their culture, as they learn their history. We are also teaching them how to uncover evidence and uncover information that will help them draw conclusions and advocate a position taking informed action, while again, they're learning their culture and their history. We also encourage our students to understand the financial and the economic outcomes based on their conclusions. So they will understand how their conclusions affect their community, affect their state, affect their country. There is no right or wrong answers when they present their life skills to the teacher. We want to hear them think. We want to feel them think, and we want them. We want their answers to be recognized. Like I said, there's no right or wrong. We're very, very user-friendly. We've developed over 14 chapters, which have around 60, I quit counting on the lesson plans, that are available for the teachers. And once a teacher suggests a particular curriculum that they want to click on, and Dr. Cantu will show you how easy that is, they can use our curriculum for a week. They can use it for a whole semester. They can use it for a whole year. It's that much content. And again, Dr. Cantu will walk you through that. So while our students are learning about their significant culture and all the contributions that African Americans have made globally, they are going to also receive the life skills they need to succeed in the 21st century. Dr. Cantu?
Okay, I think Professor Williams. Okay. So again, what we've done here is put together an outline of those units that are going to be part of the African American series that we are designing. Again, we started with the early history of Africa, and Professor Davis provided a rationale for why we began there. And then you'll see very quickly thereafter, the next one that we're going to be working on is focused on the Atlantic slave trade and colonial slavery. And then you can see here the topics that we'll be examining in that regard. And then likewise, then we move on chronologically. It does take a chronological timeline here. We go to freedom denied. So now we're in, basically in the middle to latter part of the 18th century. Everything from the American Revolution through the Constitutional Convention, the compromises therein, and then slave trade. So again, we're looking at it through that prism of African American history. And then the fight for freedom that is in that period that precedes the Civil War all the way through the Civil War will comprise the focus of our Unit 4. And then we move on into the latter part of the 19th century in that post-Civil War period, Reconstruction. all the way through the turn of the 20th century. You can see the topics here that we focus on, starting with Reconstruction all the way through the early 20th century, including the Tulsa Massacre of 1921 and Black intellectual tradition as well. And looking at, again, the manifestation of segregation in America, and you see here we cite the Plessy versus Ferguson decision in the latter 1800s. And then we have the focus on the mid-20th century civil rights movement, which includes those topics that you see here. This is the unit here we're going to take just a little moment to kind of unpack and give you some insight in terms of the pedagogical strategies that we've employed, some of the teaching and learning activities that we have, and then most importantly, as a foundation to that inquiry-based education is the primary source documents that we ask our students to engage in as historians and do that kind of historical research, interpretation, analysis, and evaluation. And then, as you see here, our Unit 7 is on what we're calling the 21st Century Civil Rights Movement. And some of the events that we're looking there, you can see that we've articulated here as well. So that's basically the timeline here that we're using, that we will use to complete this series of units here. So let's take a look here at the, I'm going to bring it up here. So we're going to look at the mid-20th century civil rights movement. This way you can kind of get some idea here in terms of the curriculum. So with the virtual learning social studies, we always start off with an introduction that establishes the historical context. And in that regard, we have a student, again, the similar age to the student population that we're targeting with our units, that does an introduction to the unit here. So I'll see here if we can, hoping the audio works here, we'll give it a try here just to give you a quick little 30-second, 1-minute introduction here.
Generally, these videos that introduce the curriculum hosted by a student, they run from 3 to 5 minutes, and it gives a good solid foundation of what the curriculum is going to be about.
I'm Josh Phillips. Let's step back in time to the late 1800s at the U.S. Supreme Court in Washington, D.C., when 2 important decisions reversed course on civil rights for African Americans. In 1863, President Abraham Lincoln abolished slavery during the Civil War. However, the fight for civil rights had only just begun. A big advance came 12 years later when President Ulysses S. Grant signed the first Civil Rights Act, which outlawed racial segregation in public places such as theaters, and transportation, and juries. 8 years later, in 1883, the Supreme Court voided the Civil Rights Law. Then, 13 years after that decision, in 1896, the Supreme Court ruled against civil rights for African Americans a second time in Plessy versus Ferguson. The case came about when a biracial train passenger, Homer Plessy, was ejected from a car for whites only. The court ruled it was constitutional, meaning legal, to enforce separate public facilities for whites and blacks. The principle of separate but equal was established.
So you can kind of see here what the goal here is with the videos, and what I want to do is actually go back and show you the one as well on the early history of Africa, just to get some insight. These, we feel, kind of set the stage, if you will, for the activities and historical content that will follow. So here's the one from early history of Africa.
Each February, we celebrate Black History Month. Let's take a closer look at the reason why we designate a special topic every year to highlight the history and achievements of African Americans. We all know these 4 historic African American figures. Frederick Douglass, Harry Truman, Martin Luther King Jr., and of course, President Barack Obama. As you know, the name of the historian is considered the father of modern history. We'll get to that in a moment. To really begin, we must first visit the continent of Africa, the second largest of 7 continents. Africa is the scientist in the ancient continent. Charles Darwin, the father of modern day evolution theory, first suggested that humankind began in Africa. Most southern.
So you can see here, not only are we introducing historical content here, but we're also establishing geographical context as well for the lessons that we teach. And that's illustrated, I think, here perfectly in our Africa unit. So let's go back here to the civil rights unit. So again, in each of the units, then you've got the video that provides the context, and then there's textual information that provides historical context for the activities that follow. And then the activities that follow, again, the emphasis is on historical inquiry. So it follows that same C3 framework approach to historical inquiry, where you start with developing questions and planning inquiries, and then applying that, the disciplinary tools, evaluating sources of evidence that you have, and then communicating your conclusions and taking action. And so that's the same sequence that we have here as well with the units. And you'll see here on this one here, again, we establish the context. We talk about the Plessy versus Ferguson decision, and then we go up to the Brown versus the Board of Education decision as well, and the impact that had on our nation. And you can see here, again, we have activities that we call on the teachers to use with the students. And along the way, another one of the pillars here, pedagogical pillars, if you will, are those think sheets that we provide to teachers. And you can see here, this think sheet here follows that same format for inquiry that you see reflected in the C3 framework. You see reflected in the Illinois Standards for Social Studies as well, starting off with the research area focus, those compelling or essential questions, those supporting questions, and then helpful sources that will help to guide that research process for the students. So those think sheets are included throughout each of our activities and each of the different lessons. And then again, one of the other cornerstones here, what we try to do is find those primary source document sources that are on there and integrate those into each of our lessons. And so you'll see here, this is one that is a Library of Congress exhibit that was developed focusing on the Brown versus Board of Education decision 50 years later. And here you find a number of different items, a number of different items, historical documents, primary source documents that are germane to the focus of the Brown versus the Board of Education decision. And these are textual-based documents, these are visual documents that the students can examine and analyze and evaluate and as part of each of the activities that we've developed. Then we have units that focus on different aspects of each of the, or lessons that focus on each of the aspects of the unit. So this one here is on the Montgomery bus boycott. So you can see here the photograph here of Rosa Parks being fingerprinted, and then another piece of evidence here in terms of where she sat on the bus. So we again, in our research, we find these primary documents, and we make these available to the teachers to use in their lessons. We provide that historical context here. We always start with a quote. This is one by Barack Obama, where he talks about the significance of the importance of Rosa Parks in history. And then we provide additional information, and one of the things we try to do is to introduce those historical figures that sometimes are forgotten about in history. I think that was mentioned early on. One of those, of course, is Claudette Colvin, one of the individuals that did something very similar to Rosa Parks, actually before Rosa Parks, what was not elected to be the individual that would move forward in making the case for desegregation. And so, but we tell her story. Again, a lot of times those historical figures that sometimes would be forgotten about in history, we tell her story. Likewise, the story of Emmett Till, we introduced in their lessons here as well. And you'll find, once again, you go down here, we've got primary documents on these lessons. Let me get here. Yeah, there we go. So the story of Emmett Till, we actually have oral history here from the Library of Congress of individuals. One of those is Reverend Parker, Wheeler Parker, who was there. And actually spoke recently at a couple of years ago at the Illinois Council of Social Studies Conference, who was Emmett Till's cousin, who recalls the incident. So we provide those resources here. Listen to this here just for a moment. Primary source documents, oral history here of individuals that lived through these different events in our history. Take a little listen here.
The Library of Congress and the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Anthropology.
I'll skip ahead here. I think you can start. The mic is actually on Reverend Parker.
Council, that's all I can say. I think the money we have been 50 people and 50 people they are about give or take a little bit. And that's good, which can also support what people on this were going across. You know, that's what we did. We got there, we got busy, got our stats. We said, how to think about 8 plus. So it was a fun time for me swimming and 16-year-old, we did with 16-year-olds team.
So these primary source documents, these oral histories, these are powerful stories told by individuals that lived through these experiences. And so what we've done in our units, and what we do in our units, is we make these available to the teachers so that they can integrate those into their lessons. We've got activities for them. We have those think sheets as well that they can use. One of the nice things is teachers can modify those to suit their own needs within their classrooms. This is intended to enhance the teaching and learning process by making all of these documents available to them. You'll find here, we'll take another look here, in the fight for desegregation. You can see here again, we have a similar format where we introduce the topic, that's the focus here, and then we follow the inquiry format here. And in this one here, again, what we do is we introduce to the students through another video what the focus is going to be on for those activities. So I'll play this here just for a couple of seconds.
C3 Framework Dimension 1. Number 1. Before starting your investigation into efforts to desegregate public schools, transportation, and businesses during the 1950s and 60s, complete a KWL think sheet. Identify what you already know about segregation and civil rights protests, such as sit-ins and the freedom rides. Based on what you learned in school or have seen in the media or on television and film. In addition, identify what you want to know or what to learn in your research and investigation. Number 2, develop.
So you can see that, again, there's an introduction done by our student narrator for the other students who are going to be engaged in the activities. And one of the things you'll find once again that you see here is we make available to the teachers a wealth of primary source documents, all focused on the activity that we developed for the teacher to use with their students. So they have access to the primary source documents that they can use within their classrooms. They have a teaching and learning activity that we've developed for them. We provide them with other resources as well. The think sheets, again, are focused on those types of thinking, historical thinking that's emphasized by the National Council for History in Schools, that are emphasized by the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture, things like change in continuity, historical context, comparison and perspective, cause and effect. And this one here is an example here where we have them go through and we have them do a compare and contrast with the sit-ins movement and the Freedom Rides as well. So those are all sort of illustrated and brought to life, if you will, in each of our units. We also have here, I'm going to turn it over to Jack here just to talk about augmented reality. But we also have in our units what we call a family field trip. So this is information relative to sites that are germane into the focus of the unit. So here's one, NPS, National Park Service, Selma to Montgomery site. And so we allow students to go in and they can examine what's available on the websites relative to each of those sites. And we actually have some activities that they can use along the way. There's other sites that we cite here are the Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial in Washington, D.C. Again, we have theme sheets for that. The National Civil Rights Museum at the Lorraine Hotel in Memphis, Tennessee. And then the National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C. So again, we bring those to life so individuals can, what we do, we want to transcend the classroom. We want to make available to them some of those resources that are in their backyard, some of those resources that they may go with their family to different locations, and they may have the opportunity to visit. So we bring that to life here as well. And then the last thing I want to point out is we have objectives and standards that we make available to the classroom teacher as well. So they can go in there and they've got those objectives that they can use, that they can modify to make their own. And then we also have some links to standards both at the national level as well as with the C3 framework as well as the state level standards. One of the things that we are doing now, and Jack's going to talk a little bit about that, is we're also integrating augmented reality into those units here. So I'm going to turn it over to Jack and have him talk a little bit about that. The context for this one is not in our African American History series yet. It's going to be integrated. The context for this is a project that was just completed for the Saddle Fox Nation. So I'll turn it over to you, Jack.
So I didn't get a chance to introduce myself. Jack Liga, and working with Kathy over the years, my role has been to be creative in technology behind programs. So, one of the great things that we talked about was how do we get everything in one place? So all of the resources, all of the links, all of the videos, everything that's available to the teachers and students is all in one place to use either as a complement to their ordinary stuff or as a supplement as a direct place to go with everything, including the resources. The way so what it is, it's a website, and that means that anybody can access it. And it does have a lot of reasons because we do want teachers and students to log in so we can keep track of who's using it, where they're using it. So the way this gets out is we send out a PDF, and that PDF can go to superintendents, and then they send that out to teachers, and then the teachers can send that out to their students, and they all log into the system. There are two different sides of the platform, one for students and one for teachers. They're identical except for one thing. The teacher side has access to more resources that the teacher can use and put into each lesson. So when you log in to designate whether you're a student or a teacher, you use your email address. You're not collecting information. All we use is just your name and email address, and that's how they create an account. Once they create an account, they're ready forever. They don't have to keep doing it every time they browse or recognize it. One of the great things that we can do with this is to use technology in a way that we can't even never use. Like I said, we have resources, we have links that take you to anywhere you want to go for these resources, but we also can embed interactive things that students can take part in. And one of the things that's the most exciting to us is the direction of augmented reality. For those who are not familiar with that, there's a difference between virtual reality and augmented. Virtual is the one you put on the headset, and you can see even by augmented reality, something appears in front of you that's not really there, but it appears in this environment. And I think I can show you an example of that. So we just need to switch.
What we're going to be doing for each of our new curriculum that I'm hoping you'll see on your table with the other 5 to 7 units that we will be creating. We're going to be adding a lot more visuals, augmented reality, more engaging and empowering videos, and more visuals to keep the kids engaged, or students engaged. And again, one of the main things that we're going to be doing is creating augmented reality in each one of our units. We just completed a curriculum for the Indian nation called Sac and Fox, which is where Black Hawk originated, and we created this augmented reality where the Sac and Fox lived in bark houses, and they were kind of square houses made out of bark. And what Jack did was create this augmented reality where all you need is your iPad or your cell phone, and a student or teacher can call it up on an app, and they would be able to see the bark house right in front of them. Right in front of them, right on an empty floor, and the student and teacher will be able to go inside that bark house and experience how they live. Families live in this one-room bark house, seeing the fire in the middle of the room, buffalo skins on the walls, the pots on the floors where they had to cook and gather grains from, and the bunks that they slept in this one bark house. So the students will be able to virtually, augmentedly, if that's a word, walk into them as it's sitting right here on the floor. So if Jack can call it up, great. If not, believe me, the teachers are enamored with this new technology that we're going to be creating for our African American units, inside our African American units. And one of the things that Jack is working on right now for our 1619 unit, we are creating an augmented slave ship, where the students will be able to walk into the slave ship and experience what it felt like being in a cramped quarter, being on the ocean or the sea, and they'll be able to feel that experience. We're not going to be focusing on any graphics of how horrible the conditions are, because we want to stay politically correct and not scare our students. But they are going to be able to feel what it was like to be on a slave ship, and then we'll take the curriculum to that next step. So we'll be creating a number of more videos, more augmented reality, a lot more visuals to engage, entice, and empower our students so that they want to continue to learn. Okay, yes.
I'll say here quickly, we were able to use a good portion of the introductory part of the curriculum for a group of students here at Push this summer. We had about 65 students who were here for a summer camp. And as we were doing our arts integrated portion of this, the students found the videos to be extremely helpful. Particularly, I would say, there are two particular units that, actually three, that I think are worth at least speaking to quickly. The early history of Africa, the students talked about Mansa Musa, and we ended up supplementing what we learned with a YouTube video with a rap battle between Mansa Musa and Jeff Bezos, and who was wealthier and why that mattered. And the students were introduced to it, which I thought was very powerful, and they really stuck with them. The other thing that I would also throw out is that through the curriculum, we were able to do a small sort of virtual look at the African American History Museum. So we did a few videos that had people speaking from there, and the students had not even know anything about it, had been there. So we took those videos and then we sort of looked at other photos and pictures to kind of do what I think we're pushing to do, which is this augmented virtual reality piece. So it was very good for the students to have that exposure to the History Museum. Last but not least, I will say that we did, in the section on Frederick Douglass, we, in our work artistically, we used, once again, the video I thought was awesome, and we were kind of in a theater space, and so we're using the arts to bring it to life. We discussed Frederick Douglass and his history, and we did an assessment of the students of Frederick Douglass' life. And the majority of students mastered the assessment, meaning they passed fully, with having exposure to the video and the activities that we did with it. So I say all that to say that this works, right? And this history matters. And it matters not just to our community, it matters to the nation. You know, Black history is American history. And so I'm very excited to be part of it, particularly because the last thing I will say is, particularly because we start prior to 1619, which I think 1619 is an extremely important date for the history for the country. But to what was said earlier, it's critical that we discuss where we came before that, where we were. So, thank you.
And the very first unit that we created highlights all the contributions that came out of Africa in our first experience as humans, and what the global contributions that are still in process today that came out in Africa. And so we're trying to instill a sense of pride in all of our students because we want them to feel the respect that they deserve sitting next to the student who is next to them that may not understand their culture and all the significance that they have contributed. So we want to develop that respect, that authenticity, and prioritize exactly how important it is to understand all of our history. We'll just take our word for it. It's really okay. Take our word for it. They're using this Black Hawk curriculum down in Oklahoma right now with about 15 or 20 different teachers and about 1,000 students. And the students are loving it because they really get a feel for what it was like to be a Sac Fox Indian, which is the nation that they belong to now. So they're learning about their history, their culture, while again, they are getting the life skills they need to succeed in the 21st century. So what our company is trying to do is be the curriculum developing, culturally significant curriculum company, so that we will be continuing to create African American history, we'll be continuing to create Asian history, Hispanic history, and American Indian history. So that's our goal for the next year, is to have the funding available so that we can continue this culturally significant curriculum that's so important to every student, not only in our state, but in our nation.
I don't think this is going to work. It's a resolution on the computers too much for the launch, so I apologize for that. If you do want to see it, it's really cool. I'll show you on the device. And actually, the way this works is it's a downloadable app from iTunes or Google Play, so students can download it to any device they have, whether it be their phone or a tablet in the classroom. And then from there, it's up to our imaginations to imagine what can be done with this technology. I will show you an example, as Kathy mentioned, of a Native American markhouse that you can walk into, walk around, as if it was really in this room. But imagine what you could do when we start using 3D models to display artifacts and maps on tables and animation and things that you just can't get today when it comes from textbooks. So because we're on an electronic medium and it's interactive, it opens up the universe basically of what we can teach when it comes to visualization of these lessons. So I apologize that we couldn't get it to work for you, but if you do want to stay for just a minute and individually you can look at it, I'll be more than happy to show you that.
And again, you don't need goggles. This is not virtual reality. This is augmented reality, which means that it's going to appear right in front of you.
The advantage to using the goggles are that you're usually tethered to a computer, you can't move, and everything's in front of you. This allows you to do this anywhere, in a backyard, in your street, in your house. You can use this, and you don't have to be tied down to a computer. That's the advantage of augmented reality. And we're just scratching the surface on where this technology can lead in terms of education. But it'll be part of every unit where you can download, or go to the Apple Store, and you can download the app to a device and then have it forever.
And one of the things that we're going to be creating in augmented reality is the unit on Rosa Parks. We're looking at creating the bus so that the students can actually physically walk on the bus, experience where she sat and how ridiculous it was for her to be taken away from that seat when, the bus itself was really very small. So she was kicked off the bus, arrested. So the students are going to be able to walk on that bus and see and feel what she went through. So those are a number of different augmented reality examples that we're going to be developing with our teams. We really want you to see this. How many teachers do we have here?
So one of the advantages of augmented reality is that I can move around. So I'm going to do. Okay. So so this basically takes this room and allows me to put anything in this room that I want. What we're going to build is we're going to build the bar house. So we're going to build it right in this space right here. So, okay, so here is the wood frame, and as you can see, I can move around in it. It's actually part of the room. Okay? And then I'm going to add a layer. This is the bar that is actually, they would shape tree trunks and put it on top as their homes. And I can actually walk inside of this. I don't have enough room here. But I can put it inside. And again, the advantage to this is that it's not a video. I'm actually controlling where I want to go, what I want to see. So if I had enough room, I could actually go inside. There's a fire, and there's actually smoke that comes out of the top. There it is. But I want you to look at this and then imagine where this can go with the technology in teaching African American studies, artifacts, objects, things that play a part in history. It opens up a whole new world that we can put into these lessons, and that's what makes it different. Is technology, everything being all in one place. So,
and students have the opportunity to look at that and actually walk in.
yeah, so I could walk around the whole thing. I could walk inside, and that's what augmented reality is all about. So I'm glad that these got to be an opportunity to see.
And again, once you walk into it, you'll see how they lived, how they ate inside, how families slept, and what it felt like to be in that one room with a family of 5, 6, or 7. And the advantage that we take pride in is that the Sac Nation, which is in Oklahoma, is thrilled with the opportunity for their students and their ancestors, the students of the ancestors who lived in these bark houses, what it felt like, their grandparents, their great-grandparents. So they get into a real feel for the living conditions and the culture and how they cooked and ate and some of the traditions that they carry on.
Okay, it's time for questions here, so we'll open up the floor for any questions that you may have.
Questions?
I have a question. So this is available to after-school programs, you said?
Yes.
Okay. Can anybody use it in a school, just even in their regular curriculum?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes, and that's because of the grant that we received from the state, we are going to be distributing all of these units, which are over 14, and as we create more African American units, there'll be something like between 20 and 25 units that will be available hopefully by the end of the year. But once the grant is in place, which we know it's working towards getting the funding to distribute by early June, all those 14 units that we have ready right now, including the first 2 African-American ones. And again, every teacher, every principal, every superintendent is going to receive this free from a grant from the state. So you'll be able to use this in your classrooms for a week, for a year, for a month, however long you decide you want to use it, because there's so much content, there's so much rich content, there's so many activities for the teachers and the students. There's so many resources at your fingertips. And like Jack said, we have embedded additional links that will help you realize how much more content there is out there at your fingertips. So it's all going to be free to every principal, superintendent, and teacher in the state. And like Jack said, it's going to be very easily accessed. It's very user-friendly. The only professional development you need is a video at the beginning of when you log in. You'll see a teacher walk you through, and it's a 10-minute video. And really, that's all you need to be able to use our curriculum.
So what we would like to do is really invite a group of teachers to come at the elementary and high school level to come and really walk through the curriculum in its entirety up in the technology lab, so you don't have to try to project on the screens. It'll be just like it is in your classroom. And then you can see how it works. And we have our tech team here, Bernard Key and Jerome Dishman, who will help you tell what you need in your classroom to make this most usable for you, or in your church, or in your after-school organizational program. One of the things, and we're not going to stay all day here today, Dean has to track back to Arkansas.
Yes.
They drove all night to the storm to get here, so I want you to give them a round of applause. I'm coming to the question. So I want you to make sure that your name is on the list so we can invite you. I need to know what school you represent or what organization you think you might want to test this curriculum in. And then we want to get some feedback once you have used it for a month. We want to get your feedback. What would you like to see? What kind of challenges did your students have? What kind of challenges did you as an instructor have? What other resources will you need to be more effective? So this is a time we're going to ask you to test it. How many of you want to bring a test? I know we had the caterer here earlier. Yes. Okay.
I don't represent an organization anymore. I was an assistant principal, but I'm still very much so. I'm still very much so connected with at least 3 schools.
Okay.
I'm flashing forth and still thinking there's actually a whole network of principals that I'd love to be able to talk to them about this and bring this in. I think they would love it.
Glad to do that. So make sure that you see Catherine Rivera.
You'll see me afterwards.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Can this be incorporated into some of the homeschooling curriculums?
Yes.
The curriculum is very adaptable, as was being discussed earlier. So, both with respect to the lessons that are embedded within the units and also the activities within each of those lessons. You as the teacher, you have the ability, you have a certain degree of autonomy to determine which of those activities you want to use within your classroom based on the students that you teach and the grade level that you teach. And you also, I think Dr. Williams talked about it as well, you also have the ability to bring in other resources as well to supplement what's there. So I think that's one of the pillars of the curriculum itself is the adaptability, both at the macro as well as at the micro level. So absolutely, it would be something that can be used across the grade spectrum and in different types of school settings as well. Yeah.
Once you deep dive into the curriculum, again, which is so easily accessible, all these lesson plans and all the activities, and standards and objectives are all aligned with what pops up right in front of you as, for easy access.
Because easy access, give this curriculum designers, all of those who gave input, and Kathy Rivera a round of applause. We want to make sure that we can leave the same day. So we're going to go. I promise you.
Oh, well, that lady was pushed.
Lady. Oh, I'm sorry.
I wanted to ask, when does he talk to the Saturday school here?
Pardon me? Yes, it'll be a push on Saturdays. Okay? Show up, let's stand.
Thank you, thank you.
Please take your place to garbage receptacles to my left or right. We have, everyone signed in, right? Yes? Our Father God, we thank you for this day. Great. Our Father God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for new insights, new opportunities, new places that we can take our children virtually. God, we thank you for virtual learning systems and all that they are doing and will do. We ask that you bless this effort, bless the teachers, the schools, and the students who will receive this information as they progress along in their journey towards a complete education. Bless us and bless every family that's represented. Bless Dean and his family as they travel back to Arkansas. We ask these things in the precious Son, Jesus' name, let every heart say, amen.
So much. Yes. Yeah, well, we may talk some of that. Yes, we are here live at the Rainbow Public Coalition, where we've just heard and seen a wonderful presentation by Virtual Learning Systems. And this is a fantastic program to give. It's a fantastic program to give students an opportunity to experience the reality of history virtually. And these learning systems are innovative in giving students a real feel of what happened by giving them a chance to live virtually and to have history. Teaches history from a wider standpoint and looks at the history of humanity, which truly is what African history is. It's the history of humanity. So we wanted to take it back with break. And we got back to briefly insight in the technology that goes into virtual systems, and what are some of the ways that we can use this to really bring the past to the present. Very exciting. There is more that we've seen in some of our science fiction films. They're the holodeck and other kinds of virtual realities now coming to life in a real way and giving us a real look at what life was like back in the day. And our listening room, able to join this conversation, please call 515-605-9325. Press 1 on your radio. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be I am here at Rainbow, where we have just seen systems. Right back after this quick break, so stick and stay. Straight away. We'll be back in. So. National headquarters at 930 East 50th Street in Pittsburgh. Fabulous presentation. It's been an opportunity to take a look at education in the future and to see what it's like to live in certain societies back in the day. And this is some wonderful technology which gives us a chance to introduce history into this very powerful and tangible, so students understand. We're going to see if we can talk to Washington. Hi. We've been live on our radio TV show for the last couple of presentations. So we want to give our listeners and viewers a chance to hear more about this technology and creating this virtual reality. It's quite fascinating. But one of the things that we're seeing is this could really revolutionize education.
Yes, most definitely.
So what skills, if someone did want to take this to, perhaps if someone wanted to take this to a homeschooling curriculum, and like many parents were very challenged during COVID to know that they weren't able to operate their computers, but what basic skills would they need to have if they wanted to pull this up on their home computer?
Sure. Well, one of the great things about it is that all it is a website. So all you need is an internet connection. And once you have that, you basically have the entire curriculum available to you. So there's no downloading of apps or things that you need in order to actually utilize the system. We do require everybody to have an account when they log in, and that's just so that we can keep track of who's using it, where they're using it from, what school district they're from, and that just allows us, because the state required us to maintain a database of how many people are actually using this, because they want to see if they want to keep funding it. So it's important that we show numbers of people actually using it. So the more people that can use it off the bat, they say, okay, well, this is something valuable, so we're going to support it. As far as the augmented reality goes, you don't need anything. You don't need a big computer. You don't need headsets. You don't invest in anything. All you do is you download the augmented reality app onto your iPhone or your Google phone, Samsung, whatever you have, or a tablet, and then you have it. And you can use it, and I don't know if you were able to see the demonstration of the Black House that we did, but basically this opens the door to put any historical object in front of students so that they can actually feel as though it's right there with them, and they can walk around it, they can experience it, what it was like. One of the things we're thinking of is, for instance, the bus, to have the Rosa Parks bus in augmented reality, so students can actually walk around it like it's inside their home, inside their gym, parking lot. It's actually, we can make it life size, so they can actually walk around in it. So imagine what that would be like for students that don't have the ability to actually go to the Smithsonian and see it. They can actually have it with them, and it's free. So that's the valuable part about it.
Now you say it's something you can download the app on your phone. Is it also a thing you can see on your phone? Like, can that be the screen that you
That
use?
is the screen you use on your phone. So actually, as you're watching it on your phone, you're actually seeing the room that you're in, but it's actually inside the room that you're in. So it's pretty amazing technology. And like I said, we're just scratching the tip of the iceberg on what's going on.
Wow. Now I understand, of course, the history of mankind and all of that is part of the curriculum. So things like, say, the pyramids, and those kind of things. Is that also some of the things you've been able to recreate?
Yeah, well, a pyramid would be huge if we had to do that, put it in somebody's house. But we have done things where if you go outside, for instance, we did an African American study on early immigration. We did the Statue of Liberty, and we made it life size. You have to be outside to actually see it, so it actually appears as if it's right there in the parking lot. So you could just get a sense of scale.
I don't know if you're a Star Trek fan. Are you aware of like the holodeck? Is this getting to
Yeah,
that
it's getting that
level?
way. Yeah, we're actually already.
Well, thank you so much. Now give us your name again and your position.
My name is Jack Lee. I'm the creative and technical director with Virtual Learning Systems, who's doing all of this rollout of the state of Illinois into the education systems.
Now, so are you the tech person that creates this?
So I designed it, and I have a team of people. Actually, I don't do all of the programming. I have my team that does all the programming for the programming and for the actual lessons. But the great thing is you can put it all in one place, so that you don't have to go to different places to go look for all of the curriculum and the resources. And that's the beauty of having electronic lessons.
So now with this kind of curriculum, is there a grading system or is it just a matter of learning?
There's no grading. There's no grading. There's no right or wrong answer. The whole point of this is having students engage and communicate and discuss the history and ask questions amongst themselves and the teachers. And there's no grading. There's no right or wrong. It's just a matter of open discussion, open learning with visuals and things that they can use in their schools.
Well, thank you so much. We certainly appreciate all you've done to move education into the next century.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Yes. Well, there we go. We're in the time of the Jetsons and Star Trek and all of that. So education has evolved, and it's necessary for us to prepare our students for the world they are entering in a way that would provide them a vision not only of what has been, but what can be. So we certainly are pleased that we have connections with a number of educational institutions as well as providers that is prepared to and so much more to add to the history that's and certainly looking forward to sharing this with so many people. And one of the things that is exciting is that the view of African history is going to go beyond the slave era. We need to have a better assessment of time and understanding that time is beyond just America. So we want to have this. I'm Naivety, and we are live. Our radio TV show comes on live Saturdays from 12 to 2 p.m. So we figured out, okay, let's just do this live here.
Okay. All right. How you doing?
Excellent. Yeah. So we're so excited. Let's make sure you're in the camera. They've seen me now. So we're really excited and watching this program. Now, with and you're involved with the African American history.
Yes. So far, I started with the early history, so everything chattel slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. And going forward, I have plans to work with the civil rights movement, the Jim Crow era, etc. For the rest of the curriculum.
So, with the information that you got, of course, we know the history of humanity is quite vast. Are there particular artifacts you have to travel to get those things, or talk to particular historians?
Yeah, so I'm not the artifact guy, the travel guy. You know, I'm more or less looking at the work of the anthropologists, paleoanthropologists, archaeologists, and whatnot. My actual area of expertise is 20th century urban African American history, right? Now I have an interest in the enslavement era as well. My going back pre-enslavement is more just my philosophy and approach to understanding Black people and humanity, right? Just to make sure we have that base to go from. But my passion and main interest is 20th century, so everything from the Black Arts movement, education, specifically more recently hip hop culture. That's like my more recent focus. So I'll be trying to implement it, put that in, and infuse the curriculum with all of those things as well.
Excellent. Now, very important question.
Yeah.
Are there any particular textbooks that you use for the information gathering in this curriculum?
Absolutely. Okay. When I teach my courses, I like to use Darlene Clark Hyde. She's like the preeminent, African American historian, arguably. So I've been using her book, African Americans: A Concise History, for years, right? So she kind of covers briefly all the eras. Now, going into detail, not so much textbooks, just individual books, right? Scholarly books. Too many to list, right? Everywhere from Bakari Kifana's hip hop books to John Hope Franklin, stuff from John Henry Clark. It can go on and on and on and on. Articles. I've most recently edited my own textbook for African American history. That'll be, it's actually going to be used in colleges in the fall. It'll be available for widespread purchase consumption next year. So yeah, we just completed it. So I'm trying to create my own textbook, right? Taking some of the pieces I like and shaping it the way I like to do it. It's just ever evolving. It's ever evolving.
Yes. Now, give us your name again and your particular title.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, everybody wasn't here, right? Daniel Davis, Associate Professor of Africana Studies, graduate degrees, doctorate, master's degree from Michigan State University, published in hip hop, published in education, educational history, published about African Americans in sports. I'm kind of everywhere with those things. And again, I most recently edited a textbook on African American history for colleges.
Wow. We'll be talking very soon.
Good. I hope so.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations on all your
I appreciate
excellent.
it. Thank you. Thank you for talking to me.
All right. Yes. Well, you've been listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show live here at Rainbow Push, where we have seen the curriculum. We have seen the importance of taking our education to the next level and using modern technology to provide a means whereby our students can feel like they are involved. They can feel
Can't thank you
Love
enough.
you, thank you.
Before you go, we got about 1 minute. We got about 2 minutes left in our live radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, and I'm just so impressed with
aren't you
the
sweet?
work that you all are doing.
Well, thank you.
And so this, of course, the founder and president of this wonderful company we've been watching, virtual education,
Virtual learning.
virtual learning systems, and definitely a wave of the future. So what is your vision for where this is going to go in terms of how it will impact the future of education?
Oh, well, one of the things that we know students need of all color, but mostly underserved students, is the opportunity to get into college, develop a career, and have some civic responsibility while we are preparing them for the 21st century workforce. So in our curriculum, in all the curriculum that we have developed, including our African American curriculum, is tools that students need in order to succeed in the workforce, like think, be able to think, solve a problem, be able to read, research, write, get informed, and create a critical thinking opportunity so that they can solve problems in their community, in their state, or even in the country. So we are developing all the inquiry-based skills that they need through our curriculum, whether it's African American or Hispanic or American Indian curriculum. We give them all the research and writing and creative skills that they need in order to succeed while they are learning about their culture. I come from a blended family, and my grandson, who is Caucasian, white, and I have two other grandchildren who are absolutely gorgeous, and they're African American. And Aiden went to school in September and sat next to a little white boy, and the little white boy said, "You're really ugly." And Aiden was, and he's 8 years old. "What do you mean?" He goes, "'Cause you're black." Well, needless to say, we all jumped on that school.
Wow.
We all, and so we found out who the parents were. And his mother went to that little boy's house and explained why he felt he was ugly. Now, my grandchildren are some of the most beautiful children you ever want to see. And to be able, for Aiden at 8 years old to be called ugly because his skin is a little bit darker than Nicholas's, broke my world. So, so what is this little white lady doing about developing African American curriculum? Is because I care. I care, I'm passionate, I want to make change, and I think starting in the classroom is the beginning. And learning about your culture, about our culture, and all the contributions that we've all made to create this melting pot. So I want to get this in every classroom in the state. We got a grant from the state to do that. And we're going to be developing more African American, more Hispanic, more Asian American curriculum, which is what I'm thrilled about. And I'm supposed to be retired.
Wow.
But how can you refuse Reverend Jackson?
You can't.
No,
You can't say no.
No, you can't say no. No, you don't say no. So we're working together to make it happen.
Well, thank you so much, and congratulations on all your
Aren't you
success.
sweet? Well, thank you so very much. You're so pretty. Is this my phone? No, I got mine. Okay.
Well, you have been listening to and watching the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. I'm Naima Latif, and we've been live here at the Rainbow Push National Headquarters, where you have seen a fantastic curriculum. And this is the way of the future. So we're looking forward to teaching and learning virtually. I'm Naima Latif, and join us again tomorrow. We'll be back with Soul Purpose Healing with Viana, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern. Until then, continue to shine your light.
You want food to take home? Yes. Ross, you want food to take home?
And we appreciate all of you who have joined us today. And we will see you again next time.